Highs and Lows, not to be confused with the 1963 Akira Kurosawa film High and Low, or its recently released Spike Lee remake Highest to Lowest, both of which are great in case you're wondering, is the sophomore album from Irish folk singer slash songwriter Eoin Shannon. In my review of his debut, Hello Forever, I pointed out the interpolation of Americana musical genres like country, rock, and blues into an album that's technically categorized as folk. With this record, Owen mostly excludes country music, more on that later, keeps rock in its supportive place, and leans heavily on blues. Earlier this year, I reviewed Chicago Kinfolk, the Juke Joint Blues, one of my favorite albums of this year so far, where singer-slash-songwriter Terry Blade used blues music to touch on deeply personal social issues whilst paying tribute to the genre's Chicago forefathers. Though his previous records leaned towards R&B with the occasional dabble in hip-hop, Chicago Kinfolk made it clear that Terry's emotive approaches to singing and songwriting were subconsciously inspired by the blues. And with every listen I gave Highs and Lows, I got the feeling that Owen is also subconsciously inspired by the progenitors of blues. And like Terry's music, it made me realize how prominent that influence was in his earlier work. This album covers the same thematic ground as Hello Forever, with its emphasis on toxic relationships and painful breakups and the desire to escape from the resulting heartache and loneliness, either through earthly vices or the redemptive power of God. Lyrically and instrumentally, these themes are conveyed through Eon's low-register vocal delivery and sentimental, straightforward songwriting, along with blues, jazz, and rock-based guitar and drum work from its instrumental collaborators. But the main thing that sets this record apart from its predecessor is expressed quite simply in its own title. Thematically, Owen treats us to the highs and lows of his life, mainly in his relationship with a romantic partner who may not be the girl he was destined to remain with, and his faith in God, that he feels is constantly tested due to the lovelorn nature of said relationship. And while there's still an undercurrent of sadness throughout this album, there's an earnestness to Owen's yearning for love and peace of mind, to the point that you genuinely want him to succeed in this emotionally driven life mission of his, instead of surrendering to his own failures as he did on Hello Forever. The lows begin with the opening track, Going Through Hell, where, over its classy instrumentation provided by the album's main producer Tom Savage, Owen wastes no time highlighting the regret he feels for staying in a relationship with a manipulative partner. Notice the uncertainty in Owen's vocals as he tries to keep one foot inside the ivory tower he's imprisoned in by this woman and the other foot outside with the hope that a friend or loved one will drag him out. And take note that he met her in the summer, which sets up the album's true line of the ebb and flow of emotions Owen feels during summer, autumn, winter, and spring. The next track, Fall Into Your Arms Again, introduces a sub-theme to the album in the form of Owen's desire to be loved by either his cold and distant partner or a former flame of his. The ambiguity behind who Owen is addressing his plea for companionship towards is expressed by the lyric-for-lyric vocal accompaniment of guest singer Gabby Dubois Jolie. If I got the surname wrong, please forgive me. Is she meant to represent Owen's former flame or current partner? Though both performers pull off a fantastic duet with a hook that will work its way into your brain whether you like it or not. Their need for some sort of healing in their broken relationship gives the song a deep resonance. God Only Knows and One Crazy Day delve specifically into the codependency Owen has towards his partner. The former track finds him seeking God's assistance in maintaining his resilience through this lengthy phase of depression and dissatisfaction he's experiencing. And if that track is about the helpful hand of God, One Crazy Day is centered on the tightened grip Owen's partner has around his neck, where a random fit of anger could spell the end of their already fractured relationship. Part of what makes the following track, Happiness Has Come to Town, an album highlight, is the feeling of relief from the turmoil exhibited on those two preceding songs. This is the second and final collaboration between Owen and Gabby, and here they follow the same lyric-for-lyric delivery of Fall Into Your Arms Again, over beautiful, albeit melancholy, piano and violin composition. As stated in the song's opening moments, autumn has arrived, and with that comes an opportunity for renewal and reconciliation. But like their previous duet, it's left to the listener to figure out what relationship they're referring to. It's implied that on the next song, I Could Fall in Love Again, Owen finally bit the bullet, left his domineering girlfriend, and hooked back up with his ex, However, as emphasized by the moody piano melodies and harsh guitar solos provided by the song's producer Larry McGee, the scars from his recently concluded relationship aren't fully healed. Driven by both his infatuation towards his ex-turned-girlfriend and the codependency he displayed before on the album, he presents himself as a broken, resentful man in need of adjustment in becoming the significant other she rightfully deserves. Another standout moment on the album comes on the track Pull the Plug / Pull the Curtain. In addition to following the same vocal format as Fall Into Your Arms Again and Happiness Has Come to Town, this time with singer / producer Chanel McGuinness, who previously teamed with Eoin on the brilliant track Night is Dark from Hello Forever, it suggests something rather intriguing through the use of the / in the title. Both Eoin's summer and autumn relationships have abruptly ended for the same reason. Each party involved had too much baggage to deal with, and thus they found it best to walk away. The autumn section of the record ends on a somewhat grandiose note, starting with Sad, Sad Little Man. In what feels like a nod to both Watchmen, the graphic novel, and movie, both of which are great in case you're wondering, Eoin imagines himself as a version of the clown Pagliacci that served as the punchline of Rorschach's memorably sardonic joke. Throughout the song, he constantly uses the phrase sad, sad little, delivered in a deep vocal register, while seeking God's help once again for guidance in avoiding the life and love pitfalls he constantly finds himself in. Which leads to what is easily the album's best song, Demon Lady. This is an absolute Halloween mood setter of a track that's both the bluesiest song on the album with its animated guitars, which includes a sick solo on the outro, and expressive delivery from Eoin and guest singer Makeda Rose, and the most theatrical with its over-the-top portrayal of one of Eoin's exes as a sinister, otherworldly being. The next 3 tracks represent what is technically the final section of Highs and Lows, Winter. The first of these is the only country song on the album, The Closer You Are to God, which, off the southern US twang Eoin applies to singing alone, sounds like we're literally watching the final scene of a western where its hero rides off wearily into the sunset. It's also the only song that doesn't involve romantic love or the reciprocation of it. Instead, it touches on Eoin's inability to stay consistently happy, and as he sings on its insightful chorus, having a heart pure enough to maintain that happiness makes him an instant target for the darkness, i.e. the devil. We're then treated to the high of When I Look Into Your Eyes and the low of Captain My Captain, Lord and Savior, over a pleasant acoustic guitar-driven instrumental from Tom Savage that sounds like something out of a 70s love ballad you'd hear on an adult contemporary radio station. Eoin delivers his take on a 70s love ballad you'd hear on an adult contemporary radio station. Now, I'm not saying that to bash the song, as I do think it's a sweet, endearing look at the love he still has for his current partner or ex, depending on your viewpoint, and the future he envisions for both of them. But given its placement on the album, the song that follows, and the season it's based in, it's easy to picture this track as a moment where a lovesick hero reminisces on the times he had and the plans he shared with his ex, the memories of which are brought up by a familiar song that plays on the radio. Captain My Captain, Lord and Savior is Eoin's final cry to God on the album. Even though it's significantly darker than When I Look Into Your Eyes, it surprisingly maintains the oral smoothness of that track thanks to Tom Savage's mellow drums and electric guitars. It also features a creative use of seafaring imagery as Eoin imagines himself as a crew member of a ship currently lost at sea after being forced to walk the plank by mutineers, i.e. his ex and the devil, and seeking rescue. Like Hello Forever, this album ends with a remix of an existing track. But this one is rather interesting as, similar to the final track of the classic Lupe Fiasco album Tetsuo Newt, it's a song that embodies spring. And how this season is embodied is even more interesting as this track gives us a dance pop remake of Pull the Plug / Pull the Curtain. I use the word remake for 2 reasons. While the lyrics remain the same, the way they're sung is radically different. And, going back to what I said earlier on the album's blues influence, you could see this as a contemporary cover of the older original song. Eoin and guest singer / producer Zoka do a remarkable job reworking the song and maintaining its thematic essence over the delightfully upbeat electronic production from Zoka and co-producer Roma Cool Guy. As a whole, Highs and Lows is a great follow-up to Hello Forever, and dare I say, the more accessible of the two albums currently under Eoin's belt. Its main emphasis on Eoin's constant battles with romantic and spiritual stability gives the album a clearer focus, and with the exception of The Closer You Are to God, When I Look Into Your Eyes, and Pull the Plug / Pull the Curtain, Zoka Roma Cool Guy mix, its production, songwriting, and vocal performances are consistently ingrained in blues music. And despite its occasional dark and despairing material, it still makes for a smooth, chilled out, and highly enjoyable listen from start to finish. In short, Highs and Lows is one of this year's best albums and definitely worth checking out, and this is why I'm going to give this a strong 4 to a light 4.5 out of 5. And that concludes my review of Highs and Lows, which is currently available on Spotify. So if you've checked out the record, feel free to let me know what you thought about it in the comment section to this video. And yeah, it's a wrap.